Hello, chat. It is, I don't know the date. I didn't look.
It's Wednesday, July 7th?
7th.
7/7, 2021.
Year's halfway over. Anyway, we've got more delicious treats. You should try another soda unless you don't want to open it.
I've still got like half of this one. This is a surprisingly effective thirst quencher.
Just as I think these are caffeinated as well. I was looking at them.
Well, it's dark.
Coca-Cola is a caffeinated bitter sweat. I think that was a typo. Chocolate developed in Germany in 1935.
It's definitely bitter
Schokolade.
sweat.
It was used by their aviators during the wars to keep them up and ready to fly.
It's funny, the emergency ration chocolate was deliberately made to taste bad so that you don't eat it all at once, and that you don't eat it until you absolutely have to have it.
That's good. That's got like a coffee taste to it. I like that.
Yeah. It's nice.
Donka.
So good. Oh yeah, we found this in the box, which will be frosted for next time.
Yeah, maybe we should cool some of these. So like we're kind of giving you a taste, not really, of like what they're going to be, but we need to cool them first.
A name like Orangina would never ever fly here in America.
That ain't right.
I don't reckon. French fried potatoes. Yeah, so this story is delightful, but I would have gone with a completely different headline for the TechCrunch. It's like we've got this really amazing situation right now where it's like billionaire space flight, but it's kind of like billionaires playing Mario Kart, but with real rockets and trying to get to space. And so everybody's favorite, you know, Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is going to be the first one to get to space. I mean, he put the guy in the flight suit in the Roadster in orbit, what, like 2 years ago at this point?
I think so.
Or a year and a half, something like that. And then Jeff Bezos shows up, and he's like, I've restructured the company so that my executive role is not so extreme, so it's not such a big risk if I go to space. And then this happened. Virgin Orbit successfully launches its first commercial payloads to space. Now, this is talking about launching satellites and all this other kind of stuff. But you know that the other billionaire that nobody ever hears, is right behind. And he, you know, Bronson may be the first one to. He may beat them both. It's interesting.
How furious do you think the other two would be if he got there first?
There's a conference call happening right now where it's like, no, we can't. I don't care if it's you or me, but we have to prevent him.
Player 3 has entered the game.
Wow, so exciting. But yeah, he owns some airlines and some other stuff. I don't know. It's a lot of. He seems like a fun guy. He lost a bet and had to dress up as a stewardess a few years ago, and that was a fun story. But
still a lot of money.
Yeah,
a lot of money.
Yeah, in other business news, Intel launched a new SSD, the Intel Optane SSD P5800X review. Hot Hardware has one. I've got one too. It's insanely fast. If you want to watch the video version of it, watch ours. But if you want to read it, Hot Hardware's article is not bad. It's really insanely fast. The deal with Optane is it's basically more like main memory than an NVMe SSD. NAND flash inherently has, you know, measurable latency compared to memory, and this is about halfway between main memory and an actual SSD. So like using the computer and launching applications and crap like that seems really fast. It's really weird because this comes at a time where Intel and Micron are not working as closely together on the silicon that's in this, and Micron just yesterday announced that they're going to sell their fabrication to their facility that makes some of this to TI. Of course, Intel came out and said that's not going to affect customer production, but it's definitely a very weird situation in terms of like Optane and production and stuff like that. They also launched another like 100-ish gig, 118 gig M.2 Optane, which is not PCIe Gen 4, and it's based on first-gen Optane. This is technically second-gen Optane, but that's the P1600X. But if I'd had my druthers, I would rather get the P5800X by a wide margin. Wide margin. So, yay, fast computer. I don't know. You know what else is fast? Amazon Prime. But Amazon...
at a horrible price.
Yeah, at what
price.
cost?
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal reports Amazon demands one more thing from some vendors, a piece of their company. This is going to be Exhibit A in the antitrust trial. And you may be thinking, he's like, that doesn't sound right. It's like,
it's pretty bad.
The unusual arrangements offer another window into how Amazon uses its market heft to increase its wealth and clout. The company has been under growing scrutiny from regulations lawmakers. They need to look into this, because this is hideously evil.
Yeah, buying shares at a below market rate because otherwise you can't sell on Amazon. That's kind of terrible.
It's almost like you found a niche, and if the only thing that lets you sell product in your niche is your vendors and suppliers, we'll take that from you, because we need to know who your vendors and suppliers are to be sure that you aren't committing fraud. And if your company actually legit does have some special sauce that we're unable to replicate internally, and we decide you like it, we're going to buy it from you. And by buy it, we mean like something maybe slightly sinister.
Buy it at a reduced market cost because you're between a rock and a hard place. You need us, and we technically don't need you. And
it's not, I don't, fully 50 or 60% of this is probably not even malicious on Amazon's part. It's just that they can't help but be an inaccessible juggernaut because they're not built to be anything else. There's a guy that sells Klein bottles. You know Klein bottles? It's a bottle that only has one surface. So
look up a picture. Let's look it up. Chat won't be able to see it, but
this is not going to be a long episode anyway. So there's this guy that sells Klein bottles, and
I might know it once I see it.
It's a mathematical thing. So it's like.
You know what? I haven't seen these. Never mind. Can you pull it up on the chat so they can see it, so they know what we're talking about?
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. So this is you go in here, and then it goes here, and then it opens in there. And so it's a bottle that you can store fluid in because of the force of gravity. But it doesn't have a top or a bottom. It's technically one continuous piece of glass.
Okay.
So it's one-sided, basically, because like if you put your finger on here, you can run over the surface of the whole thing, and the thing can store stuff, but the whole like concept of like inside or outside, it's a little blurry, because it's like the opening for the bottle, like the fluid goes in here and then around here, and then it opens up into there.
I really can't see it, but I just blinked.
So
I've never seen that before.
So some scammers took over his company's Acme Klein bottle, and he's got a lot of good ratings, and people will buy them because of the math and the jokes and the funny. And some scammers took over his page somehow in order to co-opt his high Amazon rating. And he didn't realize what was happening, and he asked Amazon for support, and they're basically an impenetrable wall of crazy, and have been for the better part of 2 or 3 weeks. It might be fixed now at the time that you're watching this. You should double check that, and if it's not, you should yell at somebody, because this is like the dumbest Kafka-esque thing. It's just one guy. Like, one guy's like, I'm gonna make and sell things in my little cottage industry. It's the American dream, and the juggernaut that is Amazon is going to help me. But the reality is that he's just been crushed under the tread of Amazon, and they're just not even aware. Like, it's not that they don't care. It's not even that they're doing it intentionally. It's just that the million-pound juggernaut is just destroying everything in its path, and it can't help but do anything else.
I was going to say, has he tried Etsy? But Etsy has the same problem. Like, Etsy at this point has become mostly Chinese knockoff products, and that's really disappointing, because you used to find really cool stuff on there. Yeah.
Speaking of being caught under the tread of progress, Robinhood is going to be forced to pay a record $70 million penalty. Ooh. And the feds have seized the Robinhood CEO's phone in an ongoing investigation, because it's like, did they really need to stop trading, or were they so heavily shorted in, GameStop that it led to their own losses, and that's why they stopped trading? It's going to be really interesting to see how this shakes out, because Robinhood also announced they were going to go public.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's not a headline you want to see right before you go public.
What a dark and twisted web we weave. I don't know. This I really wish we had Ryan here for that one, because he could unpack that, because
he does all the trading stuff.
It really is like a turducken of like fraud and intrigue and misdirection, because all of there's a lot of money being spent in misdirecting people as to what's happening and posting like grassroots blog articles and blah blah blah, but it's actually just somebody being paid to post nonsense. So it's really pretty crazy. I don't know. The other big news this week was Windows 11 We went over the Windows 11 design last week.
We did, yeah. We did.
So, well, Microsoft had their big event, and what Windows 11 means is we'll be stuck with millions of Windows 10 zombies.
And isn't that true every time a new Windows version comes out? Like,
yeah,
that always happens.
Well, Microsoft posted a tool that you could download to see if your computer was ready for Windows 11, and just about every computer out there that is hand-built, if you ran the tool, it said your computer's not ready for Windows 11. Even if you got top of the line, like the latest gaming gear, it's like your computer won't run Windows 11. There was no explanation. The user interface was bad. It's poorly designed. It was like it was designed by a marketing company, honestly. And
probably.
And it's like, oh, you know, we just want to, if it won't run Windows 7, we just want to tell them it won't run Windows 7. We don't really want to give them any details. They've since pulled that and said, oh, you know, we probably should give you some info. But most of the reason that it doesn't run on newer computers is because there's a type of encryption module called a Trusted Platform Module, TPM, and that's off by default on a lot of hand-built computers. But it's on by default for OEMs like Dell and HP and Microsoft Surfaces and things like that. And so if your TPM module was there but just turned off in the BIOS, it would tell you your computer can't run it, which is inaccurate. You just have to go turn it on in the BIOS.
And instead of just putting that in a message,
yeah,
they were like, no, they don't need any troubleshooting info.
Yeah, no, it's like your computer's too crappy. You need to buy a new one, and it's like,
I don't think that's true.
So they pulled the tool, but there's just endless articles, you know, blowing that out of proportion and making a big deal about it. And TPM modules, like you can buy a TPM module if your computer just doesn't have one, and shove it in your computer. And they went from about $5, which is an inflated price, to about $100.
Whoa.
I want to be able to upgrade to Windows 11. Do you, though? Do you really? I think you'll be fine. You'll be fine without. Microsoft also had some security problems this week. We're technically still in business, but
it's kind of security.
So Microsoft signed a malicious Netfilter rootkit. So again, cryptographic signing. We're talking about the TPM module, and Microsoft is saying, we need out-of-band cryptographic modules in order to protect our binaries and run stuff. And then they do something as dumb as this. They literally signed off on a rootkit that's in a driver. So, like, this is bad software. And Microsoft said, no, we trust this software. If it's signed by Microsoft, it tends not to be scrutinized by antivirus software or anything like that. So, this is a big oops. Really big oops. Having the TPM module doesn't help you from this because the code is literally certified as okay. Command and control server. This is the URL. So this is the stuff you can flag, stuff you can set on your firewall if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean it's just not a good time to be Microsoft if you're Microsoft. Oh, it's crashing.
Oh, it's fine. Uh-oh.
It crashed.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We're okay.
It crashed. And then this is the other story, is it's like, okay, the TPM module won't protect us from those kind of accidents, but what about this stuff? It's like, oh, Microsoft's June Windows print spool patch doesn't block remote code execution. So there was a big security patch, and Microsoft said, okay, we got the security patch, everybody's got the security patch, now we can disclose the horror of this Windows print spooler vulnerability that'll let you go from, you know, pleb tier user to full system administrator. And we got it fixed, don't worry about it. And then somebody tried to run it against the patch, and it worked. They didn't patch it. So they let the cat out of the bag, and the patch doesn't work. So I hope you've patched your Windows machines, or at least shut down the print spooler service, because if you can run print stuff, you can take over the machine. If you're running a print spooler on a domain controller, just throw it out. It's already too late.
I love that they released the patch.
They released a patch that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's was that just the result of bad project management? Someone was like, just get it done, and it's like, but we need more time. No, we need to release it today. And they're like, they just released it quiet, like doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I like to point out during this that they fired all their testers. You know, like Barnacles. They fired Barnacles. It's like those guys. This is maybe we need some more testers. Yeah. I don't know. It's like not everybody's sitting around just waiting for the world to fall apart. Some people are trying to fix it, like Neeva. This is from Fast Company, the ad-free, privacy-first search engine from ex-Googlers. So it's a search engine from people that used to work at Google, now work at Neeva. And they said that the ad model is kind of like, you know, you get the high from tobacco, but it's going to give you cancer. Depending on ads, is that cancer? That's what they said.
How long do you think they keep it running before they realize they need ads to like scale?
I think that you probably do need ads, but you don't have to do it in this way. Like, you don't have to have our audiences
at the very top of the page, and
yeah. Well, I mean, but you also don't have to have our audience's social security numbers to decide that they're probably interested in technology.
Right.
I mean, we didn't have that in the 1950s, and advertising was just as effective then. And perhaps slightly less so. In other business news, Intel announced that they were delaying Sapphire Rapids Xeon CPUs to Q1 of 2022. They said, well, the hyperscalers already have it, so companies like Amazon and Google, but they found some bugs. So we're going to fix those bugs. That was my takeaway.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, is that shortage related or?
No, they just, Intel, you know, it's a new product. Like, Intel's got to really pull out a lot of wins. Usually they're used to doing things in a very small and kind of incremental way. But, you know, AMD is just, well, not just AMD, ARM as well. Between AMD and ARM coming at them from both directions, just, you know.
They're just getting picked on at the playground. They're underneath the swings, and AMD, it's just kicking them. Yeah,
it's like, you know, Intel's always been the, like, very slow, carefully considered stuff, and all the other companies are just flailing their arms and like, hey guys, what if we tried this? Oh, that worked. What if we tried this? Oh, okay, that works. And they're just, you know, it's messing up their very what is typically a very contemplative approach to things. So they gotta move a little quicker.
And get a little more chaotic in this market.
Maybe the cracks are showing a little bit in moving that, but you know, that's fine. But you know who else is just flailing their arms about and moving chaotically through all kinds of different business models? Elon Musk. And he says the total investments in Starlink are going to reach 20 to 30 billion.
Wow.
He's like, well, I guess that's a lot. This is in Barcelona. But you know, people have been signing up for it like crazy, which, you know, if you could get fiber in your area, would you even bother with Starlink? And the answer is no. Yeah.
He capitalized on a gap in the market, and it's paying off big time.
Meanwhile, the incumbent ISPs are like, well, that should be illegal. That's not fair.
That's not fair. Well, you had your chance and our tax money to get it done.
There comes that hate nap.
Yeah.
Also with the Windows 11 thing, Microsoft has rolled out a visually updated Office preview plus native 64-bit Office for ARM. So, not to be forgotten, Qualcomm and ARM are still working on things. And, or Qualcomm and Microsoft are still working on ARM things. And so this native version of Microsoft Office might run really well. I'm waiting for newer ARM hardware. The first round of Windows ARM hardware was designed to be low cost. I'm waiting for Microsoft and Qualcomm to come up with something that is high fidelity user experience, because that's what Apple's goal was, and now everybody's like, oh man, we should have gone for the high fidelity user experience to show how much better it was than x86 and not focus on like the cheaper aspect. I don't know.
There's a place for cheaper stuff though. Not really.
Not if I have to suffer through using it. Think about, like, you know, the really, really, really cheap, you know, toy tablets versus like using your iPad.
Yeah. The difference between using the pen on the Microsoft tablet versus the Apple tablet, I was like, wow, this is a big difference. It's so much more responsive. It behaves like a normal pencil.
Gizmodo, I think the link in this story description is Bloomberg, but Bloomberg was like, we detected weird activity from your network. So it's like, all right, you know what? We're just going to Google your story. And so here's Gizmodo's version of that story. Sam Altman's WorldCoin will give you crypto in exchange for your eyeball scans.
But why? That's definitely not going to be used for nefarious purposes.
Definitely not.
That's fine.
Or purposes that you didn't intend. I mean, come on. All right, we got some rapid fire stories here. YouTube TV is going to add a $20 monthly upgrade to support 4K and offline viewing.
Did anyone ask for that?
Floatplane.com/level1text. Patreon, you know, you got
/level1.
You got some different options there that maybe are better than YouTube Red. I'm just saying. So
store.level1text.com.
This one will probably get overturned, I hope. The Korea Economic Daily reports that Netflix has lost its first ever court case over network usage fees. So an ISP was trying to charge Netflix extra money for its customers wanting to access the Netflix website.
Why does everyone always target Netflix?
Well, they use a lot of bandwidth, but it's because they have a popular product.
Right.
It would be like flour companies targeting Duncan Hines because people are buying their flour to make cakes instead of cookies. It's like clearly...
It's always Netflix, never like any other video provider.
Yeah, it's like clearly, you know... And people don't understand. Like, if you go to one website and it works really well, and if you go to another website and it doesn't work as well, it's probably the website's fault. But if it were possible to make it clear to the end user that your ISP is throttling Netflix, and you had a choice of more than one ISP, no user would choose the ISP that's throttling Netflix.
Right. Because you pay for internet, you expect it to work for everything.
Yeah, you can't. It would be like paying for water, and then, you know, you get a surcharge depending on what you use the water for.
Yeah,
like,
you used this to water your pumpkins twice today. That's not okay. My pumpkins are doing great.
That's an extra $10 fee. Oh, the pumpkins?
Yeah, they're doing good. Well, they were kind of like suffering over the last week because it was really dry, and then we got 5 inches of rain yesterday, and now they're doing great.
They're exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if they could choose search engines, if they cared about such things, I feel like they would probably choose DuckDuckGo.
I chose DuckDuckGo.
Millions choose simple privacy protection with DuckDuckGo, which is Bing. It's rebadged Bing, mostly.
This is why you don't meet your heroes. I could have lived my whole life without knowing DuckDuckGo was also Bing.
Privacy is freedom. It treats people like people, not like data points. So naive.
Yeah, I mean, it's marketing copy, but I still use it.
Oh, okay. Moving into security. An email sent by One Medical exposed hundreds of customers' email addresses. So this was basically like the old, oh, they had a picture. Where did the picture go?
This might be on the Twitter.
They accidentally used the 2 instead of BCC. And so all of their customers, and that's not okay if you're working in the medical field. It's like, oh, hey, we've got a brand new catheter for you if you want to check out the new model. And it's like, oh, wow, the President of the United States is on this mailing list. It's not okay. 9 to 5 Google reports. Carrier caught injecting an SMS ad into Google's verification code message. And it's been updated with a comment from Google. It's like, definitely, that was not us. You know, blah, blah, blah is your Google verification code. SMS ad. Keep the hackers at bay. Get a VPN today. So their cell phone provider was inserting ads into their SMS messages.
Wow.
Needless to say, Google was saying, that wasn't us. That was the phone provider.
Too.
Yeah. That's not okay. Why is that not okay? You have advertising everywhere. We should be able to monetize that. This is the world we find ourselves in. First glimpse of Abu Dhabi's facial recognition scanners for the Thing in action. So they're setting these up at malls, bus stations, mass transit, and the airport.
How does it? I didn't see this. Or what? How does it work?
It checks your temperature, heart rate, oxygen level, and some other stuff just as you walk by.
So it's just it's a temperature gun, really, because like everything else, probably.
Yeah, it's like
not really.
You might be sick. Go home. But it also does facial recognition to be like, who is this person?
I thought the masks kind of offset that.
No, they've gotten better at being able to detect it.
After getting a giant sample size this past year.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the accuracy is still like 82%. It's still it's like, eventually they're going to start arresting people, and it's going to be like, wait, this isn't the guy at all. It's like, the accuracy's still awful, but, you know, it's still there. It's still being recorded.
And still used.
This one is definitely a level 1, I told you so. 9 to 5 Mac reports that the LinkedIn breach reportedly exposes data of 92% of users, including inferred salaries. So if you uploaded your stuff to LinkedIn, guess what?
It's out in the world now.
Remember that lawsuit? It was last week. I was like, oh, it's a terms of service violation to scrape our website. I think I made the joke. It doesn't matter. The hackers already have it. I was right.
Here it is. Ouch.
Yeah, it's not good. Speaking of other things hackers got away with, SafeDollar stablecoin drops to $0 following a $248,000 DeFi exploit on Polygon. So this is a cryptocurrency created to be the same value as the US dollar, but there was a bug in their implementation, so now it's not worth anything.
It's not so stable, is it?
There's a lot more to it than that. You should check out the article, but yeah, it's just, you know, don't try to do your own crypto. I mean, come on.
Oh, Bloomberg
No,
got us again.
This
Unusually activity from your computer network.
This is the face recognition scanner story, so I just closed that.
It's just gone now. Don't worry about it.
All right, what's next up? How big tech created a data treasure trove for police, including Newport. There's not anything that's really new information in this about Newport, but we included this because this is worth looking at to try to explain to like your parents and grandparents and stuff how the police force is expanding. You know, even if their budget stays the same, and even if literally everything stays the same, because your Ring and your Alexa and your Google Cloud and your cell phone and everything else is all just constantly collecting data for marketing purposes, it doesn't mean that can't also be used for law enforcement. And so this is kind of an article about those kinds of things.
I feel like I've explained that multiple times to a lot of older people in my life, and most of them just don't care.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, but the Ring, you know, I can make it play music and stuff. And I'm like, well, that's... Or not the Ring, but the Alexa. Make it play music or order stuff for me. And I'm like, it's listening to you all the time, though.
And, of course, the one side of that is, you know, don't use any of that technology or don't have it around when you are committing a crime. But at the same time, you know, a lot of the warrants for that kind of thing is show me everybody that was in this area.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be cutting your grass and you happen to just be like right on the edge of that, it becomes a, you know, sort of prove you didn't rob this bank situation because, well, the data says that you're on here and we trust the data, even though you don't really have an easy or straightforward way to analyze the data or refute the data or make sure that there's no mistakes in the data. Did they return the thing for the right time in the right place? What other corroborating evidence is there? A lot of the time we trust the technology when really we shouldn't. And it becomes a giant headache. So, I don't know. You know, embrace our no privacy future, I guess.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it.
Yeah, that's sort of becomes the thing that we keep going back to on this. If you got a WD MyBook, unplug it from the internet. Another exploit hits the WD MyBook Live owners. This is a really interesting story.
Of these.
There's two stories, like recommended security measures for WD MyBook Live and WD MyBook Live Duo. So these products have a feature in them called Universal Plug and Play, which means that they'll talk to your router and say, hey, I'm ready to accept connections from the internet. I'm secure. I'm really well made. The problem with these is that these devices haven't been supported or updated in years, and security issues with them have been discovered. There was one known security issue with them and one unknown security issue with them. And together, hackers were able to exploit those and remotely wipe them. What actually seems to have happened is one hacker co-opted all of the MyBooks that they could get to on the internet to turn them into a botnet. So they continued serving files and being on the network for their owners, but somebody somewhere had remote control of thousands of them, and they could use them for denial of service or attacks or whatever. There's not a lot of horsepower there in terms of computation, but somebody had remote control, but it didn't really interfere with your data. Somebody else noticed that somebody had control of those devices, and the easiest way to get the first person out was to just erase everything.
Ooh.
So the second person exploited a previously unknown vulnerability to take over and erase all of the devices that were in use. And so Western Digital initially said, hey, it's your fault for using an old product. That was a little tone deaf, and so they have since said, oh, our bad. We will pay for data recovery services and help you exchange your product for a new product. Whoops. Please don't give us a lot of bad press.
Please don't leave us 1-star reviews on Amazon. We need to sell more products to make up for this.
We're going to be fired by the algorithm if you keep leaving us 1-star reviews. So it's not really a happy ending. It's kind of a happy ending, I guess. Unless you did something drastic, you'll probably get your information back. Because it didn't zero the drive. It just did a quick erase. So I feel like that they'll set up a deal with a lab and be able to get the information back in a pretty reasonable fashion. But
That sucks though.
Yeah, good lord. It's in other news, in our slowly eroding. 14 years after a sexual assault in Tampa, a man has been charged with rape because he entered his own DNA into a genealogy database. So how this came about was the police collected a lot of forensic evidence at the time this happened in like 2007, and they sent that to a genealogy database who said, yeah, we've got a match. And then they got a warrant to find out who that was. And they found the guy. This happened in Florida. But they found the guy in West Virginia. And then he turned himself in Florida. So it looks like it's going to be the guy. Well, it doesn't look like this is a false positive or anything like that. But, yeah, there's not really a statute of limitations for this kind of a crime.
That's how they got the Golden State Killer as well. Like, it wasn't even him, though. It was his family member who, like, got a 23andMe kit. And then they were like, huh, this looks really similar to all these DNA samples we had from, like, these rapes and murders in the 70s.
Pro tip, don't do crime.
Yeah, maybe just don't do that. That'd be the first tip.
I mean, it's easy with crimes like that where it's like it's obviously a crime for everybody and it's, you know, morally reprehensible. But it becomes more ambiguous when what you're doing is not morally reprehensible and also not a crime, but then later becomes a crime. And then it's like, well...
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to write really specific legislation to make that, to navigate it. And I feel like it would be changing all the time because the tech changes so quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of things that, you know, maybe you've been accused of something and it's not you. PS3 players banned, latest victims of surging attacks on the gaming industry. So this is a delightful story. Sony left, you know, like the LinkedIn leak, Sony left the database of all of the PlayStation 3 serial numbers and their customers online. And it turns out that you can just clone a PlayStation 3 serial number. So cheaters and people that just want to cause trouble have been cloning people's PlayStation 3, and then you can sign into the PlayStation Network as them and, you know, play games, do all that kind of stuff. And then they're getting banned, and then the regular people are like, wait a minute.
Why did I get banned?
Why did I get banned? And Sony has not been yet clued in that this is their own fault. They did this to themselves. Or
maybe they know and they're trying to figure out how to spin it.
Yeah.
The marketing team's working overtime before 4th of July.
So this is going to be a fun one for us to yeah. It's like good luck playing your thing over the holiday.
Yeah.
Not happening. This one's a really fun one. NFC flaw lets researchers hack an ATM by waving a phone. So there's a video. You should watch the video. Basically, there's an NFC reader here, and the dude's phone hits the NFC reader with a payload much larger than it expects. It's classic buffer overflow. The company said, oh yeah, we were aware of that, and we fixed that like 2 years ago. But he was able to show that a lot of the devices that are in the field still haven't been patched, even though they were aware of it. So now it's really well known they're going to have to work twice as hard to get everything patched. But he was basically able to run arbitrary code on these devices just by having an absurdly large NFC field.
Not good.
Not good. No.
Oh, that was the last story.
That's it.
That was it. The last one was the bottle.
You've almost made it through a whole week of Level 1 news.
Hey!
Woo! And then Friday we've got
nonsense.
Robot and nonsense.
The two best sections.
We've got the dancing Hyundai Boston Dynamics robot. You should tune in for that. It's really exciting. And also Linode. More Linode.
Yes.
There's always a link for Linode.
And more candies. We'll try a different one on Friday.
Oh, yeah. What is this?
I'd have to look at the list.
Knoppers. I'll try Knoppers.
And there's Knickknacks, Double Crunch Peanuts. Not sure what to say about them. They're a great snack when having drinks with friends.
Knick-knack, paddywhack, but he didn't give our dog a bone.
Anyway, we'll enjoy these. Thank you. Goodbye.
Gotta find the button.
Oh no, awkward.